Hi everyone, Rich Crescenti here with another in our series of videos making music with Melodyne, and today is part one of our series using Melodyne to shape the response of processors. Specifically in this video, we'll be covering vocals and dynamics processors. Now we all use dynamics processors on our vocals, whether it's compression or de-essing or whatever, and many times that will get us everything that we need, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes we need a little bit more, and Melodyne can be perfect for shaping that vocal to get the response you're looking for. Maybe you're running out of plug-in power, maybe you're trying to print through a hardware compressor and you don't have 1,000 plugins to throw at this. We can use Melodyne to change the behavior of this audio to trigger the response we want from our dynamics processors. Many things we're doing today can be done inside Melodyne Assistant and higher. However, at some points we'll be using the sound editor, which requires Melodyne Studio. All right, so let's jump in and take a look. This is a song called Only the Good Ones by Metalful out of Eugene, Oregon. Okay, great. This is a high energy rock song right here. And as you can see, I've got a VLA2A on here. This is a clone of an LA2A compressor, very, very commonly used on vocals, and I love the sound of it. However, the attack and release times are fixed on this particular compressor. So what we can do now is use Melodyne to change the shape of it. And to do that, I'm going to actually use Melodyne in parallel. I've duplicated my track right here and placed Melodyne on the duplicate. And I am sending that out of this send right here, pre-fader, to get the exact same level. And I am setting that to the side chain of this compressor right here. So the Melodyne vocal is what is feeding the side chain of this compressor. We will not be listening to this because I don't care how this sounds. I care how it shapes the dynamics processing. All right, so as we can see, we're already getting a good, 5 to 6 dB of compression on here, and it's jumping around a little bit still. So maybe I want to even that out. So the first thing I'm going to try is our amplitude leveling tool, amplitude leveling macro, which is right here. What this does is looks at the median value of whatever's selected, and all of the blobs above it we can bring down. All the blobs below it we can bring up right there. So as I let this play, I can even out the dynamics from one blob to the next and get a different response out of this compressor. Let's check it out. Even right there, just by doing that, I feel like I've evened out the response of this a little bit. It's a little less jumpy. Let's bypass it and turn it on and off and see what we think, starting with it bypassed. That's nice. I feel like we're getting a little bit more consistent amounts of gain reduction, and that means maybe we could get by even with a little bit less if we wanted to. Now, one of the things about an opto-compressor like this is that the attack time on it is very slow. So the attacks will get through. So maybe what I need is a way to control that attack time, and Melodyne has a really useful way for doing that, which is right over here under the time tool. Under our attack speed tool, you'll see this little black dot at the front, but you can actually grab the blob anywhere. And what this does is change the speed with which Melodyne gets to its peak amplitude. So I can sort of make it get to its peak amplitude a little faster or a little slower. And I'm going to bring this up and down, and I want you to watch how bringing it up seems to make the vocal push forward a little bit, and bringing it down seems to bury that vocal a little bit right there. Let's check this out. That's a little bit of a subtle difference, but that's fine. This compressor is getting me most of the way there. Now I'm just making the front part of that word leap out a little bit more. Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to bury it a little bit more. Let's try that. That's nice. In this case, I actually like that a little bit better because this is a slower compressor. By slowing down the attack speed of each one of these blobs right here, we make it sit a little more consistently and make it move a little less. Now we've seen that we got a couple of options right there. We can make it jump a little more or sit back in the mix a little bit more. So I like both of those a lot. For this next part, I'm going to move over here to our sound editor. Right? This gives us a few different other things to control right here. And the first one that I want to show you is this portion right here, right? This is a dynamic slider, but this is different than the amplitude macro. This is actually the dynamics within each individual blob. If we increase the dynamics within each individual blob right there, the blob will die away sooner. If we decrease the dynamics, the blob will last a little bit longer. So we can kind of change the shape of each individual blob as it feeds into the compressor. Let's check out how this also can make the vocal jump and move a little bit more or sit a little more still in the mix. I noticed a big difference right there, right? If I decrease all these dynamics right here, we get a big difference. Let's bypass this and check this out. This is just bypassing the sound editor portion right here. Another one where that sits a little more consistently. Let's swing to the other direction and decrease the dynamics of this right here and check this out. Starting with it bypassed. Yeah, again, we're getting it to move and jump a little bit more, or we're getting it to sit back and be a little more consistent in the mix right there. Another thing that we have right here is under our EQ tab. And what this has is a very nice brilliance slider, which acts as sort of a tilt EQ. And by tilting this EQ in either direction, we can get a very different response. We can really bring that top end forward and make that vocal sit in front of the track, or bury it a little bit more within the mix. Let's check this out right here. That's a huge difference right there, right? Let's bypass this and check this out. So much more forward and aggressive. Let's go in the other direction, right? And tilt this down so the compressor is responding more to the low end of the vocals right there. That's great for making that move back a little bit there within the vocals. So now what we've seen is a lot of different ways to control this energy of this vocal track and make it jump, make it sit a little still, make it move forward, make it move back a little bit, all with the same compressor. Okay, so that covers our compressor portion of this right here. Now we've got another thing that I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and reset this sound editor right here and cover this up because I want to show another way to do this actually with Soothe, right? Soothe is a very popular processor that a lot of people like a lot. It can be used as a de-esser, sort of gets rid of some resonance within there. And I want to use this as a de-esser in this particular case. Right now, what I'm going to do in this case then is I only want the sibilant information to trigger this processing right here. If we go ahead and just listen to this Soothe right here with just its standard settings. Let's check this out. Okay, so that's helping a lot, but it's also removing a lot of resonance in areas that we don't want it, right? In places that we don't want to touch that. I'm really only looking to control some of these S's right here. Now I've got another setup right here, which is generally tuned a little bit more like a de-esser would be to these high frequencies. Let's check this out. Okay, that's better, right? That's acting more like a de-esser, but they're still responding to these high frequencies at times when I don't want it to, right? I really only want it to respond to the actual sibilant information. So let's move back over here. And what I'm going to do is come over here to this track and select all of these and come over here to my sibilant balance tool. Now, normally we can use sibilant balance to control that. What I'm going to do instead of bringing this down To remove sibilant information, I'm going to go in the other direction and use this to get rid of all the tonal information and only leave the sibilant information behind. What's cool about this now is that only this sibilant information will trigger the processing of Soothe right there, right? Let's check this out. That's nice. I like that a lot actually right there because it's only responding when the sibilant balance is there. Let's check this out. I'll bypass Melodyne and we'll listen to the difference. That's a big improvement on that and another way to help control some of these dynamics processors. So be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Hope you've enjoyed this today. Thanks.